So as everyone is filling in, I will get the boring stuff out of the way first. This event is being hosted by Belmont Books. We are an independent bookstore in the greater Boston area. And I usually like to thank everyone because we're still in this pandemic a year later. We are doing everything on our computers, working, school, social hours. So for people to spend their Friday nights once again at their computers means a lot, and we so appreciate it, especially to see these wonderful writers. So thank you especially to the audience and to Kristin and PC and Romina for doing this on a Friday night. I'm sure they could have had wild plans for tonight. More housekeeping stuff. We have more events coming up next week. So if you're interested in YA, we have a contemporary YA romance discussion with Suzanne Park and Lone Lay. So Suzanne Park is going to talk about Sunny Song Will Never Be Famous, and Lone Lay will talk about a faux love story. It's going to be super cute. We're very excited. And then Wednesday at 7, we are doing an event for Nikisa Afia's debut called Dead Dead Girls, which is a historical mystery set during the Harlem Renaissance with flappers and a murder mystery. And she's going to be in conversation with Denny Bryce. So we're very excited for that as well. If you've never attended a virtual event with us or a virtual event with any other bookstore, I will introduce the authors. They will talk for about 40 to 45 minutes. And then at about quarter till or 20 till, we will open it up for questions. And if you have questions for Kristin and PC, or even Romina, who is also an author, there is a Q&A function towards the bottom of your screen. It looks like 2 little speech bubbles, and you can submit your questions through there. It just makes things easier to keep track of and see when asking questions. And let's get started. So we will start with Romina. Romina Garber is a New York Times and international bestselling author whose books include Lobizona and the Zodiac series. When I will admit that I read the Zodiac series so long ago, but you were writing it under a different name, and I did not connect the two until like the emails went out. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. Romina was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and raised in Miami, Florida. She landed her first writing gig as a teen. On College She Wrote, a weekly Sunday column for the Miami Herald that was later picked up for national syndication, and she hasn't stopped writing since. She's a graduate of Harvard College and a Virgo to the core. Then we have PC, who is a New York Times and USA Today best-selling author. And speaking of another best-selling book, Bell's Trouble has hit, what, number 8 on the YA hardcover list? So another accolade to add. PC was born in the Midwest, and after her tour in the United States Air Force, she taught high school for 15 years before retiring to write full-time. PC is a member of the Oklahoma Writers Hall of Fame. Her novels have been awarded the prestigious Oklahoma Book Award, Young Adult Library, was it Library School Association? Quick pick for religion.
YALSA, yeah.
YALSA. Romantic Times, RIP Romantic Times, Reviewer's Choice Award, Bookseller's Best, and many, many more. Ms. Cast is an experienced teacher and talented speaker who lives in Oregon near her fabulous daughter, her adorable pack of dogs, crazy Maine Coon, who may make an appearance, and a bunch of horses. And then let's move on to Kristin. Kristin Cast is a #1 USA Today bestselling author and has spent over 150 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list, peaking at #1. She was born on an Air Force base in Japan and grew up in Oklahoma, where she explored everything from tattoo modeling to broadcast journalism. After battling addiction, Kristin made her way to the Pacific Northwest and landed in Portland. She rediscovered her passion for storytelling in the stacks of dusty bookstores and in rickety chairs of old coffee houses. For as long as she can remember, Kristin's been telling stories. Thankfully, she's been writing them down since 2005. So I will turn it over. I'm so excited, and I hope the audience is just as excited as I am. Thank you, Romina.
Thank you. And yes, I am so excited to be here with the casts and to congratulate you for another amazing story and another success. So excited. It's such an honor to be here, especially because your books have inspired me, obviously. And I think a lot of us YA authors, particularly in the fantasy area, obviously this was one of our the great masterpieces that we study, I mean, obviously it's a testament to that. So congratulations. And how does it feel to launch this book?
It has been it's so strange to launch during a pandemic, isn't it?
Yes.
Because we're so used to touring, and I mean, I'm grateful that we can do this, that we have the virtual tour, but it's so weird to launch during the pandemic, because when you launch normally, you're out there with the fans and you can get their feedback and you know what's going on. I don't know, Kristin, it kind of has felt like we have blinders on, right? And we're like, I wonder if anyone's buying our book.
Yeah, it's very strange. I was just downstairs cutting broccoli and now I'm here.
Yeah. I have pajamas on the bottom half of my Prince shirt thing. Yeah.
Exactly. This has completely changed everything for us as authors. I feel like we were just, so used to being face to face with our readers when we're promoting, and this is so different. The only thing I've been saying a lot that the only kind of silver lining of this is it's kind of, I don't know if the word is democratized, but kind of made us more available to everyone all of a sudden. Whereas before, people had to wait till we came to their city to meet us or hear us talk, or now anyone from anywhere in the world can tune in into an indie bookshops like event and be part of that community. And that's kind of cool. And I hope we do keep this.
Oh, for sure.
That's been fun.
Yeah.
So let's begin with what inspired you to write this sinister tale. And I love the mismatched twins. Like, that's like the best thing, who basically hunt down mythological monsters. And by the way, it's a book that I was able to bond with my mom over. My mom loves it. She's like reading it right now. She's probably watching us. She's like midway through, so we can't do any spoilers.
That's amazing. Hi, Mom.
Okay, we have this story that we've been telling about how this was inspired, and the first time I told it in an event, Kristin was like, huh? She didn't remember like almost any
No, I don't remember. I remember the setting. I don't remember her even talking about it, and I'm the one who wrote it down because I'm the note taker of the pair. But I know, tell the story, Phyllis, because I don't even remember it happening.
Well, we were authors and aspiring authors know that, especially once you're established, you get pitches together, proposals together for your publishers. And it was time for us to submit new proposals. So Kristin called me and said, let's go to the zoo. So we went out to the Portland Zoo. It was a beautiful day. They have drinks at the Portland Zoo, which helped me with the proposal part. And they have fries, which helps Kristin with the proposal part. Yeah. So we went out there, and I even remember we were sitting at a picnic bench, Kristin.
Well, I remember where we were sitting. I remember where my body was. I just don't remember any of the things that you said.
I, way back, like probably 20 years ago now, I submitted a proposal to, I think it was Harlequin actually, for a new series, paranormal romance series. They did, and one of them that they didn't decide to do was some kind of elaborate, I don't even remember the whole thing to it, but the only part I remembered was that these women in this certain family had this ability to see doors to other realities, other realms. You know about that, okay, because I am reading your book right now. That in there, and loving it. But I said to Kristin, I really like that idea. I like the different realms and different realities and that type of thing. It's intriguing to write that. And so I said to Kristin, do you think there's any way we can use this for a new YA proposal? And
apparently, I said yes.
She said yes. Yeah. And then actually, we started talking about magic and how the doors would open. And I can't even remember who, it was probably me who said, let's use witchcraft because I'm the witch.
Yeah.
And Kristin doesn't usually like go to the paranormal end.
No.
Like I live there, and she just visits. She just visits.
You-
So that's how it came into being. She wrote the whole damn thing down.
Yeah, I did.
She wrote it all down.
Write it all down.
And it was one of 6. This was one of 6 proposals that we sent to our agents, and our agents whittled it down to 3. And then Macmillan voted on those 3, and it was unanimous for Sisters of Salem.
Yeah, so don't ever throw away any of your old ideas, because apparently you can tell them to your daughter and then use them and write a great success.
Yeah, as long as you have an organized daughter. That's very Virgo of you, by the way, to be taking such copious.
She's very organized. I am not.
I love note taking. I am a Scorpio, so I don't know what that.
But we're close. Like Virgos and Scorps, we tend to keep to ourselves very much.
That is true.
Yeah. So
I'm Taurian, and I just want to lay around and drink and eat.
Yeah, but you like to work hard to play even harder.
Right?
Yeah. That is for sure.
Sorry, it's a zodiac author. I have to analyze now. But you're also a good team player. And I totally agree with what you said about old ideas and old everything, because, and I don't know, maybe if we have some writers in the audience, let us know, because we can get a little bit into some of this stuff, save some time at the end. But, long story short, I wrote 5 completed novels before Zodiac, and all of them were rejected, and Novi Sona actually was a rewrite of one of those. It was called Yellow Eyes at the time.
Oh, that's what I'm reading right now, you guys. Hold that book up. It is so good. It is so good. If you like my work, you're going to love her work.
I love you so much. Can we just go on a retreat?
And you can order them both from Belmont Books.
Yes,
from Belmont Book, as you should be. Definitely. Yes. Order. Yes. So let's, so moving on from inspiration, and yes, and saving all your ideas, all your old babies, everything. Absolutely.
You guys, aspiring authors, one of my best friends is Gina Showalter, the paranormal romance, mega bestseller. When she got published, she literally had somewhere between 6 and 12 manuscripts stuffed under her bed.
She writes them with her hand.
I don't think she does anymore, but she used to literally write them with her hand.
They were actually under her mattress.
They were under her bed, written with her hand. Yeah. And every one of them has been published now. Yeah.
Well, I would imagine. I mean, I'm going under her bed right now to get that.
Crawled underneath there.
The new Ocean's 11 is 11 YA writers breaking in.
Gina Showalter. That's great.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. That's awesome. I love that. And I mean, as we think of more inspiring things, you guys will definitely share with you anything as it comes up in our conversation, but definitely feel free. There's a Q&A box. And if you guys have more specific questions, let us know, because we want to definitely save time to answer whatever you came here to learn. So I do have to interrupt this to ask real quick about what it's like working together. I mean, the chemistry between you two is just ridiculous. It's off the screen. So what is it like? Just give us a little glimpse into what this is like, what your process.
Well, it's very structured, actually.
Really?
I don't know why you're laughing at me.
I'm laughing because it's the part I like least.
Yeah, but we've tried to write before Sisters of Salem and writing Spells Trouble. We've tried to write other things together, and we didn't have a structured way of doing so. And she may like it more, but it makes it so much more difficult.
It's harder. Yeah. It's harder.
Ends up suffering.
Yeah. And we also, it's very, very easy to write ourselves into plot corners.
Yeah, if you just start writing. So what we do is we get together and we do a general outline, with for Sisters of Salem. There are 3 books because it's a trilogy. So we did a general, more detail, Act 1, 2, and 3 outline for the first book, a kind of long paragraph for the second book, and then
this much
for the third book.
And everything concludes in the third book. Yay.
And this is who dies in the third book. So there. And then we took the acts outline for the first book and broke it down into a chapter by chapter outline. And so we knew exactly what was going to happen. And we did the same thing for the second one and the same thing for the third one, which we're writing right now. And that way, as we're writing, if either of us feels like something needs to change, we call the other person and we say, hey, I think that this needs to change and it would alter XYZ in the outline. Is that okay with you? Like, is it good? And normally it's fine. And then we just move forward that way. But then if anything is altered, it's easy to see what it's going to impact. Sorry.
I don't think
It's
that's
so popular.
Oh
my God. So it's easy to see if any, like what else is going to be affected by that. And then it's also like, so that this one, yes, doesn't just go off in the field, just writing whatever she wants to write, because if you just let her, she'll just write anything.
She called it going rogue. She says, stop going rogue. I really hate outlining. When I write by myself, I write myself kind of a long letter and that's it. But what I've found is that writing with Kristin the outlining part is really hard, and it's also very time consuming. It takes us weeks to get a book completely outlined, because we do it chapter by chapter, and that's really difficult, especially if you're a character-driven writer like I am. But after we get it done, and I order sandwiches.
Yeah, she does.
And stuff. We have sandwich day. And that also helps my attitude as we do this. Truly a Taurian, right? And we find out that helps us not write into like plot corners. And also we first divide up the characters though. That's the first thing we do.
That's what I was gonna say. How do you approach? Is it like you alternate chapters, or you do different voices, or?
We have our own characters, and we choose them very quickly, actually.
That is the easiest part.
So it's like Kristin and I, our differences are actually our strengths, because like I write Mercy, and Kristin I don't think you could even see Mercy, understand her person. Yeah. And like Hunter would be a difficult character for me to write.
Right.
And Kristin writes Hunter. So whoever's character is at the forefront of a scene, that's who writes that chapter. And when we write, Zena's talking to me over my shoulder. Whenever we outline each chapter, we put who writes it at the top of it too. Like chapter 12, PC. And then we put my character, will say Mercy. And then we do the outline.
That is not how it is structured, but
she does it she does all the note taking, because she's really meticulous and good at it. And I appreciate that, because I'm real bad at it. We just had to trade roles, because Kristin and I just came up with 5 new proposals for new YA, either books or series. And we came up with a whole bunch of it driving back and forth from Portland to Sonoma County.
Which is 10 hours. It's a 10-hour drive. Wow. I drove the whole way.
Wow. And we were brainstorming the whole way, like down and back, and also while we were there. And I was the note taker, and I will admit to doing a very poor job.
She did a terrible job, but someone did not want to drive.
Someone did, yeah, exactly. It's like she didn't want to drive so badly, she volunteered to be the note taker. Look at that.
Yes.
I can't wait for self-driving cars, right? Like, this is not going to be a thing of the past. People are going to be like, can you believe they let humans drive back in the day? Like, that's crazy, said the android to the other android. Ridiculous, but that is so cool. And I want to just to finish on that, and then I do want to get a little bit into the book, but just one more thing on process is, because this is fantasy and because it's dense, and there's a lot, I mean, you've got the Salem witch trials, you've got the mythology of these gates and each monster and their own mythology that comes with it. How did you approach that, the kind of system of it and the fantasy aspect?
Well, first we had to do something different than the House of Night, because House of Night relied very heavily on Wicca. And so what we did instead was kind of base it more on I'm a pagan, and I'm a witch, and or a bruja, right?
Yeah, my tía abuela es bruja. We call her all the time when we're hexed by the evil eye.
Yeah. And so a lot of the magic system is based on me, based on my magic system. So it's a lot of fun for me to, like, especially in book one, there's some, but in book 2, there's more spell work that I actually do. And so it was fun. It's a lot of fun for me to write it. And then I imagine in my mind things like at the very beginning of the book, when Mercy throws the stuff into the campfire, and first you see whatever you see first, a tree or something nice first, and then it changes to the wolf and the horror of it. I just imagine that stuff in my head happening. So it's really fun when I'm doing witchcraft. So it's really fun to write it and have me see it as I'm doing it. So that's kind of, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kristin.
And the gates, that was just research. We wanted to incorporate different mythologies, and then we Googled after we chose which we're most inspired by and wanted to incorporate into the book. So that wasn't part of Phyllis's witchcraft. No,
and we chose the trees by looking up, deciding what we thought would like symbolize best each mythology, or the land each mythology
comes from. That makes sense. No, I mean, I loved all that. And I'm such a like geek for like world building stuff, you know, and what fascinates me most is you attend enough of these chats and you realize that every author has their own approach. It's like, you know, it's like fingerprints, like it's so unique, you know, to each person. And I think that's so lovely. You know, it's like one of my favorite parts of it.
Young authors need to know that there's, I mean, we get asked all the time, how do you do it? How do you write? How do you start?
Yeah.
There is no right answer.
Oh.
Like I always write chronologically. If I don't, I get myself into huge trouble. Kristin can write in any order.
Well, because I have that detailed outline.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, no, but it's true. It's true. We all just approach it so differently. And that's the beauty of art, right? In our books. Like, and that's what I try to drill into, like, when I talk to aspiring authors, it's like, art is subjective, you know, it can go over your head or it can pierce you through the heart, but it can't be wrong. It can never be wrong. And that's awesome. So I guess I do want to talk a little bit more about the book, but without giving anything away. So I'm just going to say, which character was your favorite to write? Now that I know that you each took on a different one, I'm curious, who was your favorite of the cast to write?
Mine's talking to me right now. Come here.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, here we go. Oops. That she's disgruntled because she doesn't like to be picked up. But this is Xena, Warrior Princess Cast. And Xena, Warrior Princess Cast, with her giant puffy paws, she is my favorite character to write.
I'm not surprised. I don't blame you.
Now I have hair all over me. How about you, Kristin?
I wrote both Hunter and the antagonist in the story. And I mean, Hunter's my absolute favorite. Like, Hunter's my favorite, I think my favorite character I've ever written in general.
I love Hunter.
So, thank you. I really like her, and I like her more with every book. So Hunter's my absolute favorite character to write.
And what about your favorite part of the book, or your favorite part of creating the book? Whatever you want to say. It could be a scene, or it could be a moment in the creation of it.
So my favorite scene is actually not even Hunter. I'll say it without giving anything away. Right before we find, well, I'm trying to figure out how to say it without giving it away. Right before you find out, like right before the bad guy comes in, but you're with the person who the bad guy, when he finds the truck and the body, that's my favorite part. No one who,
that was the most cryptic answer.
It doesn't make any sense. If you have, it'll make sense when you've read the book.
When you read it, you understand. That's my favorite part. I had a really good time writing that, and I often, like, sometimes I enjoy my secondary characters more than my main characters because you don't have to spend like, there's just, it feels like there's more to work with, but really you're just seeing them for a shorter period of time. So everything you put in just like really gives them so many more layers. But if they had, 350 pages, you'd be like, you guy. So I really love him, the person I'm talking about, and I love his relationship with his coworker, and I just got to layer all this stuff in, and I really enjoyed it. And it's the one scene that I distinctly, when I think about Spells of Trouble, it's the one scene that always comes to me first, which is very strange because it has nothing to do with either of the girls.
My favorite scene is one that I didn't even write. I really like the scene where Hunter washes some of Mercy's grief away. I love the spell work. I love all of that. I love the symbolism of it. And because, I think most of us have felt grief that's so heavy that you feel like you can't even move forward anymore. And that's what was happening to Mercy. And then Hunter managed to do a spell that just allowed her to breathe again, kind of, help. And I love the spell. I love Kristin's writing in that. I love Kristin's writing anyway. Mom is precious, but I love her writing in that scene in particular. I like the characters' reactions. I like the whole thing.
That's the first magic thing I have ever written. Right? That was the first magic scene in that book, wasn't it? That Hunter did? Yeah, because I don't write magic stuff. And so that was my first magic.
But you guys wait till book 2 because
that's what I was gonna ask you. What can we expect from the sequel?
More magic.
More magic.
Yeah, our editor was like, I would just love to see more magic. And then I just took that and ran. And I was just like, I think every time you see it felt like when I was writing it, every time you saw Hunter, she was doing some kind of spell. So a lot more magic is in the second book.
And some of it's real crazy too.
Yeah.
There is a book in the second book.
Yeah.
A magical book.
I did some amazing stuff. There's a new goddess. She's really cool. I loved her.
Yeah.
She's
the book though is, you guys wait to this. We can't say too much about it, but it's really, there's a lot of magic in it. My favorite part of the second book, and I can't give away any too much, but I don't think anyone will be surprised about this.
What's not your favorite part? It's just what do they have to look forward to?
Well, they have to look forward to going to the Egyptian underworld.
That's true.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wait, did we reveal the title yet for the sequel?
It's called Omen's Bite.
Oh, good title.
Our editor.
Came up with all 3 of the titles. Yeah, she did an amazing job.
That's awesome.
Spells Trouble, Omen's Bite, and we're working on Hex Shoe right now. And she also titled the series Sisters of Salem.
I love it.
We titled the first one, or Kristin did, Eye Candy.
And if you've read it, then you understand what.
If you've read it, it'll make you kind of go.
Why that's so punny.
What's cool about these titles though is like they, there's a double play like on all of them, and they're like short and crisp and fun, and it captures perfectly the tone of the series. It's like what you're getting.
Yeah, we had a conversation with Monique Patterson, our editor, and we were there. There was a run for a while where there were a lot of titles that were like the blank of blank and blank, and that's kind of like at first what Wednesday was thinking, and we were like, we would really like something kind of like Buffy feeling, very like high school and very catchy and short and like cute. And so she just sent these 3 titles, and we were like, oh my God, this is exactly yes. She totally got us, and it was amazing.
Oh, Monique. Yeah.
That's perfect. I see that we're getting more and more questions, so we might get cut off soon, but I'm just gonna keep asking until we are. So I know we have a lot of readers here, and we are at an indie bookstore, and so are there any recent reads you want to rave about, or anything upcoming you're excited about, or anything you want to tell all our bibliophiles here?
I'm super excited about the sequel to Lobezona. What is the name of it?
Cazadora.
What does that mean? What is that?
Huntress.
No way. Oh
Yes.
boy. That I know what that means right now. Mhm. I'm very excited by that. So those reads, I'm really looking forward to that. And I want to hype The Morrow Thieves. If you haven't read that, everyone should read it. It's so fantastic. And anything by the amazing Rebecca Roanhorse. Anything by Rebecca Roanhorse. Black Sun was her latest, but also The Trail of Lightning and A Storm of Locusts. They're incredible, incredible. Kristin?
I am really excited for The Maidens is coming out by Alex Michaelides. I hope I said that right. I feel like it was very professional sounding. So I'm going to go with I did it correctly. And it is his sophomoric book. This is what happens, I think, whenever you are a writer. I'm like trying to edit myself out loud. His first book, The Silent Patient, I think is one of my, it is my all-time, let me edit out these extraneous words. It is my all-time favorite adult thriller. So totally amazing. And that's what I'm most excited.
Was that the cover that had like a shrouded face with a slash?
Oh, the silent patient. Yes, that's what that one was.
That cover disturbs me so badly for some reason. That's a good thing, but I'm just, every time I see it, I'm like, yeah.
So those are I have a whole list. I go into my Amazon account and I make like a book list. I don't buy the books from Amazon, but that's where I hold my like list of books, and because it's really easy there to tell when are they out and like all this kind of stuff. So I always have this running list. The only one I can think of course, is The Maidens, and I know that that's it that I can think of right now.
Well, you're reading a historical romance, probably.
Always reading a historical romance, Phyllis. Yeah. I am. I go for a walk every morning and I have my headphones and I just listen to my historical romance, and I go to the Stack's Coffee House and I buy some tea and a cookie and I walk and listen to various novels. Right now I'm listening to Julia Quinn novels. So
nice.
I'm very English in the morning.
Very
That is awesome. Before we jump to questions, I know with Bridgerton hype, do you guys have any advice for aspiring authors, any creatives here, or in general, anyone who is trying to succeed at whatever their chosen career, and especially now, which is such dark days, anything to give us hope?
This is good for being an author as well as anything, but especially being an author, because people don't usually see being an author as a real job. They look at it through these rose-colored glasses, and I guess, well, as soon as I figure out the title and the names of the characters, then I can start writing. Okay, no, because both are probably going to change. And also treat the job of being an author as you would any other career. Educate yourself about what happens when a manuscript is finished and it goes to an editor. All those steps in the publishing house and everything from know what an editor does. God, that's really hard to say. An editor does, and what a copy editor does, and then what your agent does. Know all those things. It's a job, it's a business. Treat it like that. Educate yourself. You wouldn't show up at a dentist's office and go, hey, I want to be a dentist. Let me start drilling some teeth. You have to educate yourself about it before. And that does not mean you have to be formally educated at all. Read and read and read and read and write and write and write and write. And I have some awesome writing books listed on my website. So you guys can go there. Yeah.
I get very caught in, like, I don't know, maybe it's a philosophical belief. I'm not sure, because I want to go very like read so much, like read all the books, because, well, that is a thing. I'll say that first. Read all the books, because even books that you don't like, you're still learning something from. You're learning exactly what it is you don't want to emulate. So read a bunch of books. But then I also get very stuck with this, like our culture and capitalism and the way we view working, and it's very damaging. So kindness, be kind to yourself, whether you're writing or doing any kind of job. Just because you are not being productive does not mean that you're failing, and it doesn't mean that you're less, and it doesn't mean that you're not valuable. Your value doesn't come from your work output. And unfortunately, capitalism has told us that it does. So I feel like any job can benefit from offering yourself grace. So that's my advice about working.
That is so moving and beautiful, and I totally echo that. It reminded me at an SCBWI conference that Laurie House Anderson spoke at. She talked about the creative, and treating our inner creative as a little child and not as this monster like that way you must show up, but rather encouraging her, being sweet to her, being kind, protecting her innocence, and all the. And I was like, wow, that's such good advice, because I don't think I do that. I feel like I'm very tough on myself. I'm sure you guys are as well. And that's such a good thing to remember, especially right now.
Yes.
I have to remind myself, I've been doing this a long time, more than 20, I've been published more than 20 years. And it's just been in the last couple of years, but also especially during the pandemic, that I've really embraced that, because I don't feel right if I'm not writing. If I'm not writing, quite often I'm like, oh, I need to be writing. And what I've learned is that I need days to percolate. I need days to just, even though I'm not actually writing things down, it's all happening here. And then after I take a break and a little breath and go back to my work, then I'm much more productive. But don't do that if you don't go back to your work. Okay. You have to actually go back to your work. Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And I would add to that, like I was saying before, 5 manuscripts till I got published, and it was over the span of like 8.5 years, so it was a really long time of facing rejection after rejection. And of course, like I fell into depression and periods where I wasn't writing at all. And I remember at one point when I was going through that, one of my friends was like, what if I told you, like, I could see the future and I can guarantee you that you will be published. I just can't tell you when or what title it will be, but it will happen for you. What would you be doing right now? And I was like, well, obviously I would be writing in that case. And then she just stopped and she's like, I'm going to let you think about that before. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Really
like
that's a great friend.
What a great friend, right? And so I would say that to anyone who's going through this as well, don't give up, like you hold on for your yes, and only that story, and I used to say this back when there were in-person events. I used to talk about how when we walk into a bookstore, there's thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of books, and that are all amazing because they got to this point. But you're walking out with a few, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3, in your hands. That's it. It doesn't mean the other books aren't worthy. It doesn't mean they're bad. It just means you have to make choices. Life is only this long, and so that it goes back to the whole subjective thing. Don't think of it as like pass, fail, good, bad, any of these black or white terms, because it's just not like that. It's just about finding the right kid. It's like falling in love. It's like you have to be patient, and it's going to happen, and trust yourself.
Very true.
Yeah.
That was a wonderful note to end the discussion on. And as someone who has read every book that Kristin and PC just recommended, they're all wonderful. If you need historical romance recs, Kristin, hit me up.
Yes. Oh my God, I always need them. Oh, yes.
I'm a romance reviewer in my off time, so I read a lot of kissing books.
Okay.
Happy to help. And PC, if you haven't read Sherry Demoline's like adult release,
I'm reading it right now.
so
Well,
good.
back and forth with, I read
Yeah.
I have like 3 books open at the same time. Yes.
So, Empire of Wild is
Yep, I'm about halfway through it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Yeah. Mhm.
So we have several questions that we are going to get to, and we're going to start with, I think, a pretty fun one from Ashley, who asks, if you could have total knowledge and complete understanding of one thing, what would it be?
Life after death.
Oh, that's a good one.
Really good one.
That's a good one. Romina, do you have an answer? Because
I might say the
You're
human
stalling.
mind. The human mind.
Yeah.
see, you guys have like main ones. My first thought was taxes. So I think I'm going to stick with that because I would really like to understand what's happening with that. Taxes is
IRS.
There always has to be a practical one, right?
Yeah. That's a good question. We've never been asked that
We
question.
never know, huh? That was a
That's a
great,
good
that was a good question.
Maria asks, how long does it usually take to write a book?
Together, it usually takes Kristin and me 4 to 6 months. By myself, it depends on the book, but I can write a book in a couple months. But again, it just depends on the book. It takes me anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks by myself, and that's way on the good end. That's if like I'm snowed in, which has happened before, and I have to write. I have to write. But I'm most comfortable if I have 6 months to write a book.
The only reason that it takes us 4 to 6 months to write a book together is because she writes so quickly. If I don't write that.
True.
I have been forced to write my 2 contracted solo books in about 9 months. I would like a year. That would be amazing for me. But it takes me about 9 months to write a book. That's with like outlining and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So Ashley asks, if you were written as a character, what kind of character trope would you be? Would you be the hero type, an underdog, a morally gray main character? What stereotype would you embody?
Well,
Morally gray for sure.
I was gonna say that'd be Kristin. If you've read my Divine books, Divine by Mistake, by Choice, by Blood, whatever Shannon Parker is, that's what I'd be. Because she's basically me anywhere, although I'm not as judgy as Shannon is at the beginning of the series. Okay. Kind of the underdog heroine, reluctant until you give her enough wine, and then and or marijuana. And then it's like, okay, fine. I'll take care of everything. Shit, man. No one else will. I will. That's who I am.
I'm apparently morally gray. I don't know if that even needs elaboration.
Raised by the woman who's like, oh,
morally,
fine. I'll do it finally.
I'm morally gray Scorpio. So do with that what you will.
Alexis wants to know if there's been any updates on the House of Night TV series.
Ooh, well, we have our fabulous producers are working very hard right now, trying to get a network to pick us up. We are all ready. We have the script is done for the pilot. The whole first season's outlined. I was very, very heavily involved in all that. So I can tell you, House of Night fans, that you will love it. All we're doing is waiting. It's been really difficult with COVID, and it's put everyone back, but finally networks are acquiring again. So that's a really good thing for us. House of Night fans, if you want to see it come to TV, contact your favorite network and do not stop.
If there's anyone from Netflix in the audience, just
right? Happen to pop in Netflix.
They're adapting everything.
Yes, we are available for purchase. Netflix.
We are Netflix. Yes, contact our producers. But yeah, it's all set to go, guys, and we won't audition until a network does pick us up, because networks like to have input in that. But we can tell you guys that there will be open auditions held for all the Nerd Herd, and they will also be online auditions so that anyone, anywhere can submit audition tapes. So contact those networks, bug the crap out of them, and let's get it made.
Maria asks if you know whether or not Spells Trouble will be available in other languages anytime soon.
I think it had Sarah might know this. Sarah, do you know the answer? I think it had a dual release in a different country.
If you're in the chat.
Because I see the photos and it is a country in the language I don't know, because I don't I was born and raised here and I don't know other languages.
Sarah says she does not know off the top of
her head. There are like three, I think it's sold right now to like 3 countries. I cannot remember which countries they are.
Goodreads also usually lists whether if there's another edition out in another language, so that might be a resource to look.
We'll get with our editor, and Chris and I will post it on our social media.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Jenna asks specifically about Spells Trouble. Does this one have any romance in it?
Yes, it does. Actually, Spells Trouble has some sex in it. Okay. Yeah, I'm getting. I write Mercy, and the sex has to do with Mercy. So I can't give you guys details. But
Mercy has a romantic like storyline throughout the trilogy.
Yeah. There is romance. There is in book 1, and then it changes in books 2 and 3, which will make sense to you after you read book 1.
And just a reminder, people can still submit questions while we're asking them, so don't worry about it being cut off. You're welcome to keep submitting them. Siggy asks, what has been your favorite book so far to write?
Ever in the world?
You've got a lot of them.
I loved writing the last of the Otherworld books, Found, the House of Night Otherworld books. That was my favorite of all the House of Night books to write. I loved that one. And I just finished an adult apocalypse book called Into the Mist. It'll be out next year. And I love that book. So.
Sorry, I have to keep muting myself because I have a very tiny dog downstairs who is just a wild animal. I think that Omen's Bite was my favorite, has been my favorite to write. And part of why I say that is because so far it's been the easiest to write, and that is like preferred. But and there was a lot of magic, and I don't normally do magic, and Hunter was very like Hunter. Yes. So yes, thinking aloud, it was my
Hunter's real crazy in book 2.
Yeah, she is figuring herself out.
She's got some issues going on. Yeah, she does.
Now, to flip that question, what has been the hardest to write? Which book do you remember struggling with the most? Forgotten,
the 3rd book in the House of Night Otherworld series. I had just had a major accident out at the barn. I have to say it real carefully because when I had the accident, I called my assistant to let her know that I was headed to the emergency room, and right after I contacted Kristin, and my assistant thought I said I had an accident at the bar. And she was like, what kind of what accident? So I have to be careful about my enunciation. but I had a really bad horse accident out at the barn. It was not my horse's fault, it was my fault. And I tried to write too soon. Yeah. I was not well for a long time, and I couldn't even walk for a long time. And I tried to write too soon, which Kristin will definitely tell you, because she had more work to do editing Forgotten than any of the 16 House of Night books she had to edit.
That was an interesting time.
She called me one day. She was like, "Woman, what the hell is wrong with you?"
I remember looking at my boyfriend as I was editing Forgotten, and I said, if she doesn't want to write them anymore, she should just stop writing. Like, that was because I didn't know. She's not very good at telling people when she doesn't feel well, and like when something is wrong, like physically. And so she was not communicating with me that she was having, problems. And I was just like, this is not good. This is not good. Stop writing, Phyllis. Just stop.
What is going on here? She's like, I don't even know where these people are, who's in the scene, what they're doing.
That was a learning experience for us all.
I had to rewrite that entire book.
Yeah.
With Kristin's help. Yeah.
I just wrote The Key to Fury, which is the follow-up to The Key to Fear. Fear. Thank you. I think it's really good too. Yes. I hated writing that book though, because I had always planned on it being a trilogy, and I switched it to a duology. And so I have planned a trilogy for like 7 years now, and to last summer have to say, okay, this story that I have seen for so long now is a different thing. And it's fine. It's actually better than what I had originally planned, but it took so long because I've been drafting this book in my head for years. And so to write a different one, it was just really hard, because it was really hard for me to see past what I had already planned. I was standing in my way the whole entire time. And I tried to change my writing process because I thought that would help me. And it did. That's really not a very good idea to do that in the middle of a deadline. And it was just a mess. And when I finally just let go and stepped aside and just said, story, come to me, however you are. And like, I stopped like my death grip on this idea that I had previously. It was finally like, it blossomed, and I was like, this is great. But I spent so long just wrestling this freaking plot for absolutely no reason at all. No reason. I still don't understand. When I look back, I'm like, what were you just wanted to make it more difficult?
And then once she let go and decided to do it, it only took her just a couple months to get it done.
Yeah, then it was super fast. But I rewrote the first, I don't know, first 40, I guess probably almost half of that book 4 or 5 different times, and just kept, because I could not. I once took this class that V. Schwab did, called the Story Corps, and she's super amazing. And she said before that when she drafts, she has to be very careful about actually finalizing her scenes, because then she wants to keep them because of how beautiful they are, like how beautiful they sound and the effort that she's put in. And she doesn't want to keep them because they're beautiful in the story. She wants to keep them just because they're beautiful. And that's what was happening to me. I was keeping all of these words because I had spent time and energy creating them, and I thought they were great, but they did not fit with the story I was telling. So
that's how I feel every time I write something. Every single time I'm like, look at how beautiful my butterflies are. And then Kristin goes through and like kills them and smashes them.
You don't need any of these. So that was the work. The book is amazing. I feel like the book is amazing, but the process was really horrible.
So this is obviously a pre-pandemic question, but Rebecca asks, how much travel do you do to the settings that you write?
I love to set books in real places, as House of Night people will know, and anyone who's been following any of my, me for the last 20 years, almost everything, I think, Kristin, right? I think everything I've written has a physical element that's real. I find fantasy, it's easier to bring fans along on a fantasy journey if you can start out in reality and then, pull the rug out from underneath them and then take them on this fantasy journey. So I travel a lot. I traveled a lot. I am fully vaccinated though. And even though I can't really get on a plane yet, I'm driving around. Well, Kristin's driving and I'll sit in the passenger seat and
yeah. The only reason I travel to places like book settings is because of Phyllis, because I don't do that. If I have to I don't like world building. So I'm like, I would rather set it in a fake place, because then I can just be like, these are the names of the streets because I said they're the names of the streets. Like, I don't want to also then, I don't have to world build and hold true to things people can actually go like check. And he'd be like, well, that's my city, but none of that is here. I'm like, well, all of it. So.
And I love world building. So and I want it to be accurate too. Like, I want people to be able to go to, Tulsa and go to the House of Night, which you can do if you go to Cascia Hall, right next to Utica Square.
Tangentially related, Maria asks if you have any favorite places that you like to visit.
Yeah. We just got back from Sonoma County and we drove down there, and that was so much fun. It's so beautiful. We love California. And
I love British Columbia.
Yes, definitely.
It's amazing. I get very travel sick, so I want to say that like a favorite place or someplace that I wish I could go back to is overseas, because there's so many fantastic places and the history is so immense. But I am so sick. Like, we fly and we lay. I am sick the entire time, and so I don't ever really have a great time. So I am a fan of places that are shorter distances away. So I really like British Columbia, and we can drive there easily because we live in Portland and it's very nice. They have otters there and killer whales and
really good
seals or sea lions. I don't know. One has ears and one doesn't, or something like that. I'm not sure. So yes, British Columbia.
I wish that I really am looking forward to going back to the UK. Scotland's a second home for me. I haven't been back in ages, and I miss Italy a lot. Kristin and I went to Copenhagen a few years ago, and we'd love to return.
Again, she says you put me in this,
because,
and I'm like, I don't know that I do.
Yeah.
Katie asked if you have any ideas for novellas in your series or in this series.
Okay, the way that a novella works. So I know you only can write a novella if your publisher wants to buy a novella. The only way your publisher wants to buy a novella is if the existing novels are an overwhelming success and they feel that demand for, like, novellas are usually backstories to characters or like additional stories to the characters. And if there's demand for those works, which would mean, novellas only get a percentage of sales of the original novel. So if your original novel sells, like 10 books, to help with math, they are going to count like maybe 20% of those sales are going to go to a novella. So 2 books then. Math. So we don't have a novella planned because that's actually usually something that your agent or your publisher will be like, hey, do you want to do this? These sales are very intense. So we don't ever go into a series or a standalone book saying we're for sure going to plan for these side stories, because there's not a guarantee that will ever happen. And I think as publishing evolves, less and less novellas are coming out. I don't think that there's the same demand that there was a long time ago. People would rather have another book. So we don't have any plans, not because we don't want to write any.
But we definitely could. I mean, it would be cool to do a novella back in following Sarah Goody when she leaves Salem.
Yeah, but what would be even cooler, which I feel like a publisher would go for more, is having a novel about that, which is why like the novella thing isn't super huge.
So we have 2 more questions. Ashley asks if you've ever felt awkward writing a sex scene in your books.
Me, no. I love these scenes. What? Oh no. You guys read my Goddess Summoning series. Soft porn, man.
You like a Hades Persephone retelling.
Oh, fantastic, wasn't it? Goddess of Spring, that scene where she's bathing and yeah, it's real good. I like writing sex scenes. I think they're fun and sexy, and I enjoy doing it. I enjoy doing it. Whoops.
I think that I don't feel awkward as much as it feels like stilted. Because I get very into trying to find different ways of explaining the same.
How many times can I say?
Yes, exactly. And so I'm very like I get awkward, but not because of the sex, but because I'm like, where, like, how, boob and then breast and then like how
synonyms for penis, like
yes. And would my character say titties? Like, I don't think so. So that like limits my word. Like that's what is happening to me as I'm writing that type of scene. So it's awkward, but because I as a writer am making it awkward for myself, not because I'm like blushy about the situation. I'm blushy about the situation after it's written and then I have to reread it. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't with that.
Sarah has a vote for a full Xena novel. I think it would work well as like a graphic novel. Like
it'd be great. That'd be so much fun to write. Yeah.
But we're gonna end on Sarah's question, who asks, who wrote the prologue that's set in Salem?
That was me. And there's another cat in that prologue. I love Odysseus, right? That was fun. I liked writing. That prologue was fun because I love research. And so then I got to like really delve into the Salem witch trials and Salem and where were they holding the women and how, and it's not true that they burned them and they were hung. And I had to get all those details and do all that research. And as I'm researching, I always think about fiction. I always fictionalize in my mind as I do it. And so I enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun. So when we decided to do that, Kristin was like, ugh. And I was like, yes, I'm going to do it. Yes, I'll do it.
Well, those are all of the questions that we have. I especially want to thank Kristin and PC and Romina for joining us tonight. You can grab any of their books through us, or any of the books they mentioned through us. I highly recommend all of their recommendations, as if you needed another, like a second opinion on anything PC and Kristin have mentioned. Thank you all so much for coming tonight. If you came in halfway or you missed anything, or you just want to watch this event again to take notes about all of their writing advice, we did record the event, so it'll be up on our YouTube channel, which is Belmont Books, within like 24 to 48 hours, so you can play it back to your heart's content. Thank you all so much once again, and congrats once more on hitting the list. Hopefully more lists will come shortly after that.
Yeah, thank you so much for hosting us. We appreciate that so much. Thank you, Romina. I heart you so much.
Oh my God, I love you so much. This was so great. I'm so glad to meet you guys. And this was totally a blast. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Let's do it again.
Yes.
Thank you
for coming. We appreciate all of you so much. Thank you for coming, and thank you for coming along with Kristin and me on another adventure. Thank you for putting us on the New York Times bestseller list. We appreciate you so very much. And please always remember that you are worthwhile, you're important, and we wish you love, always love.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye, guys.